The Subaru BRZ STI is finally happening. However, I'm fairly certain it's going to be a disappointment, and let me tell you why. But let me start by saying I really hope I'm wrong. That it's not a disappointment, but I think it's going to be, and let me explain. But let me start with what happened 2 days ago or yesterday. Can't remember. Subaru USA tweeted out this image and this text, and it showed a picture of a BRZ with a wing that had STI on it. BRZ said June 8th, 2017, and they also hashtagged STI. So it looks like a BRZ STI is coming. Now let me go back a little bit to kind of the roots of everything and the roots of my car buying. When I bought my WRX, I was very close to buying a BRZ. I test drove the FRS and I absolutely loved it. I think the reason I went with the WRX was a little more practical. It had the all-wheel drive, it was faster, and it was a little more recent. It came out a little more recently than the BRZ. So I ended up going with that. But let's really go back to where the BRZ STI started. Now, I believe it was 2015, and Subaru debuted a concept, a BRZ STI concept. They showed it at New York, and they probably showed it other places, but I know New York was one of the places they showed it at. And then I believe in that same year, there was a BRZ TS, which came out in Australia, and also came out in Japan, if I'm correct. Now, this version had no actual go fast mods or performance mods. It just had, I believe, suspension, had brakes, it had the wing, it had cosmetic enhancements, etc. So it made it a better handling BRZ. Now the BRZ, I thought, was always a great handling car, at least from what I drove of the FRS. It was a great handling car. I don't know if it needed more of that, or necessarily if it needs more power. I prefer more power. Some people argue it doesn't need more power because of how light it is, but I would like more power. But I think the handling was always there. So anyway, we have the BRZ STI tweet by Subaru, and ironically, about a couple weeks ago, I think I saw this, was AutoGuide caught some pictures, I believe it was AutoGuide that caught pictures of the BRZ STI testing. Now, they said it was an STI, you couldn't see an STI badge, but what they saw is a few things. They got like front shot, they got the side shot, and I believe the BRZ STI that they thought it was had Brembo brakes, had red brake calipers. In the back of the car, there was some, I believe, black tape over a badge, and it looked like it was definitely an STI badge, and it had a big wing on the BRZ. So they speculated that, maybe a BRZ STI or some kind of different BRZ was coming out. And I agree with them, but then again, some manufacturers just test cars, but nothing ever comes out. But this is where I think it's going to be a disappointment. I think this is going to be almost identical to the BRZ TS that was in Australia and also in Japan. Now, if you look at the picture of the front of the car, of the BRZ STI that was spied a couple weeks ago by AutoGuide, I don't see anything that would, suggest forced induction or anything that would make it go faster. So I don't see any intercooler in the front, like a front mount intercooler. I also don't see any top mount intercooler, which I don't think anybody expected, because the BRZ hood is already so low, and I think that's part of the reason why Toyota wanted BRZ when they developed this car. Why Toyota wanted Subaru when they developed this car. It's because they wanted that flat engine to keep everything low and have a low center of gravity. So I didn't think they would put a top mount intercooler on this car. The hood's already very low. There's no hood scoop that we can see on this test mule. I also don't see anything up front. It doesn't look like there's anything that would suggest a turbo or supercharger or anything of that nature. So I really think it's just going to be suspension and brakes and maybe some items and the wing and things that make it look cooler to some people, etc. And there'll be a price premium on that as well. And that's disappointing, because when I drove this car, I thought it handled like spectacular, just outstanding. It was so precise, it was so light, it was tail happy to an extent, but not too tail happy. It was just such a good handling car that I don't think it needed any more handling. I think the power is the one thing everybody's craving, and I just don't see it. Now, I really hope I'm wrong, and I really hope it has some forced induction, something to make it go faster. And if it does, I will honestly consider possibly getting this car, because I still really want a BRZ, but I like my WRX a ton. I like the power, and I won't get a BRZ to sub in exchange for my WRX. I would get it as a complement to it and get it as a second car, have it some kind of weekend or project car. But I really like my WRX, all-wheel drive, everything about it. But if this did come with forced induction and had more power, if it had the FA20 in the WRX, that if it had that motor, I would be very, very interested, because I think 268 horsepower would be plenty for how light that car is. I mean, I believe it's 27 to 2,800 pounds, somewhere in that range. I think it would be fantastic. I think the problem is that the turbo's underneath the engine in the WRX, the FA20 motor, and I think that causes some issues if they can fit it in the BRZ without modification. Now they could modify it and put it in there. But anyway, this is just a quick video because it just came out and it got me excited, but I believe we're going to be disappointed. Don't get your hopes up too high. I really hope I'm wrong. I really hope it has forced induction. We'll see what happens. If it does, there will be definitely some talk for me this summer about looking at it and possibly test driving it and even possibly buying it if it has it. But if it doesn't, I don't think I'm going to look at it. I think I would just be fine with an older used BRZ that I would hopefully get at some point as a second car. Thanks again for watching. I hope I'm wrong, and I'll see you in the next one. And I was about to post that video yesterday, but something came up and I couldn't get it posted. So now it's one day later, and it's probably a good thing I waited, because Subaru teased something else. They just teased for June 8th as well what looks to be a WRX or STI, a different version. It looks like in the background there's a hood scoop. Now this could be the BRZ STI with the hood scoop, but I don't think it will have one. And also the profile of the picture and how the roof looks, I really don't think it's a BRZ. I think it's a WRX or STI. Now I think Subaru was testing some like STI type RA recently. Not exactly sure what that is. I think it's like a time attack car or something of that nature. But again, it looks like we might be getting two cars on June 8th, which will be awesome. So just stay tuned for that.